Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're certainly delighted to be here today to do our portion of today's presentations. I see some familiar faces here. It's good to see you again after it seems like a 2-year lull. We're back among the living, so it's good to have you here. We just wanted to do a real brief presentation here. We're not going to take a whole lot of your time, so hang on. We're going to move quick. We're going to shift gears fast, and I'm going to make up almost all the time that they've lost throughout the day-to-day, and while they're so far behind, we're going to get everybody back on schedule. So we're real team players, aren't we, at Schluter Systems? You bet we are. All right, so we're going to demonstrate things about our shower system. So we have a couple of people here to help out. We have Robin, who's been doing some demos in our booth, and also Paige, who's doing some demos in the booth. You might know these folks from your walks of life. We've just got a little shower here, and we do want to talk about the different ways that you can go curbless with showers, the different places you can place drains, what kind of drain are you putting in, that sort of thing. If you do have a drain installed already and you want to switch over to a sealed system, how do you go about doing that? We want to talk a little about in-floor heat, which is another design element or an element of comfort that the consumer really wants these days. So this is what we're going to do. We have a little mock-up of a shower here. You see we have different holes in place here depending on what kind of drain you're putting in and where do you want to put the drain. So where are we going to start here, Robin? It looks like we're going to where it all began. I like that. Let's start at the very beginning, folks, just like the song from Sound of Music. Remember that? Is anybody with me on that? Some people are looking at me like, what was that? What movie was that? Some of them, okay, but anyway, let's start at the beginning. What is this all about? Well, Schluter Systems was really one of the companies that pioneered the whole idea of a sealed shower system. And what we did is we had our Curdy membrane, which we've had out for over 30 years now. But the real missing element was a way to tie the waterproofing to the drain. If you think back in the old days, the only waterproofing methods we had for a shower was a pan liner or bladder that was under the mortar bed. And we allowed water to get into the assembly, and then we managed that water and contained it to where the pan liner was. Then we managed that water to get it back out through secondary drainage, i.e. the weep holes in the two-piece drain assembly. Well, Mr. Schluter came along and said, why don't we seal the whole system up and bond our tile directly to the waterproofing? Great idea, but how do you do that when you get to the drain when the waterproofing's under the mud? So he came up with, where is it? You're hiding it from me. The Curdy drain. We brought this out in 2001. This is called an integrated bonding flange because what it allows us to do now is integrate the surface waterproofing right to the drain at the surface of the mortar bed. So that was the missing link that really changed everything in the tile community. We could now do a full waterproof system. Waterproof the walls, benches, curbs, shower pans, all of that area. You could waterproof that with our Curdy membrane, and then bond the tile directly to the Curdy membrane. And when you got down to the drain, you didn't have to dive down underneath the mortar bed to get to the clamping ring assembly of the old drains. This was right up on the surface, and you have this nice big area here to make certain you've got a good contact and a watertight seal. So this was the pioneer product right here called Curdy Drain, now referred to generically as an integrated bonding flange. So that's how it all started. But now that the mortar is playing less of a role than it used to. Remember back in the day when we packed a pan, we had to use sand and cement mortar because we needed a material that could withstand the rigors of that wet environment inside the pan liner for its entire life. Well, mortar worked well for that. But now that the mortar is now under the waterproofing, what role does it play now? Well, it's creating the slope to the drain, and it's supporting the drain. So now that that's its role, we don't necessarily need to use mortar, and that's when the trays came out. Very high density expanded polystyrene, which means you're not limited to even tiny little mosaic or pebble that you can put on here. So you've got the support. It already has a slope built into it. very lightweight, adaptable. You can cut them to size, and this is what you're showing here now. Now this one has the Curdy membrane already on it, so one less step there. So sure, you can still use this with mortar bed. If you still like to pack your pan, you screed it right off the top of this flange, and then with your rise into your shower, then you cover that with Curdy, or the other option is to go to the Curdy drain, and that's what you're showing here. So now we have the Curdy drain. This is a center placement. You can see that there's a recess in here. By the way, this all goes together with thinset. We'll be doing these demos. We already did one this morning. We have another one at 2:30 to wrap up our shower and our bathroom. We'll do it again tomorrow at 11 and 2:30. But anyway, we've got this, and it's all thinset, so the tray gets puts down with thinset. You put this flange in here with thinset into that recess, and then Robin can show you that we even have what we lovingly refer to as the donut. You can see why we call it a donut, because, well, we're tile setters, and we like donuts, but besides, that looks like a donut. It even has a recess that goes in there. So now we've got that watertight seal. We go up on the wall with our Curdy, and waterproof, even drywall, with our regular Curdy, which is an 8 mil thick polypropylene membrane with the fleece on it for grabbing the thinset. That's going to go on the walls. Tie it into the tray here with that. We even make curbs now. If you think about what you go through to make a curb out of traditional material and then actually have to go and waterproof it besides, you can see how quick you can do it with our foam Curdy board curb. It's already waterproof. It won't warp. It won't rot. It's dimensionally stable, which means it won't change dimension due to moisture content like a lumber or some kind of wood product will. So we put that in place. You can drill it. You can tile it. Stack glass blocks, shower doors, whatever you want off the top of that. So this is where we started with the company, and here really in the tile industry, is to switch over to these sealed systems and to have the efficiencies of preparation in like 75% less time than it typically took us to prep a shower for tile. So one of the main benefits of this system is it is waterproof as it stands. The tile is simply a decorative wear surface. And by the way, that's all tile has ever been, has been a decorative wear surface, right? It's just there to make it easy to clean and to make it attractive, but this is really what's managing the water. And now we have these sealed systems that do manage the water on the surface, so the tile is going to bond directly to these. So there's how we started. This was really the advent of a total integrated system, including the drain assembly, to have our waterproof assembly. So the next thing we did, what are we going to show next?
You want to talk about your Curbless application?
Okay, we can talk about that with this one. Now, these trays, as you can see, are not very thick, even at their perimeter. So the curbless thing is really popular these days. Now, when we say curbless in our industry, let's be clear about what we're talking about. That means there's just no curb, right? That's different than saying barrier-free. If you use the term barrier-free, I do want to caution you. That means you are taking away, eliminating any barriers to usage or entry by anyone of any ability or disability. So be careful when you say barrier-free, you are really complying with ADA, Americans with Disability Act, as far as their design and plans. So if you say barrier-free, mean barrier-free, and build barrier-free. Many times all we're discussing here is just curbless, which means we're taking out the curb, simply doing that. This one here is too small to meet ADA just because the maneuvering area isn't large. But all of our components can actually be used to build ADA compliant if you need to. But for right now, for our intent and purpose, our conversation, we're just going to say curbless. So say we want to take out the curb. We would have a curb across the front. I know we're mimicking a curb over here. It could be a 2-wall corner shower. It could be a 3-wall shower, whatever you have. But what we wanted to show you is with these trays being so thin now, you only have to recess the floor 3/4 of 1 inch. Now, typically here in North America, our subfloor is about 3/4 of an inch. So all we need to do is remove the existing subfloor that's over the top of the joists and affix ledgers to the sides of the joists down the same thickness as the subfloor, 3/4 from the top, and then we recess the strips of the panels onto those ledgers between the joists, and we gain that 3/4. Now with 3/4, the tray is still going to stick up just a little bit. But since it's a Schluter system, you are going to go with a Dietra product for your uncoupling membrane, waterproofing, and in many cases, your Dietra heat, which we're about to demonstrate over in our booth here at 2:30. But you can see when you add those, now we have our flush transition. So it could be that simple to actually include into your design a curbless shower, which is going to get you flush access right in. So keep that in mind, that you can actually offer these, and you can actually be the one to value add that into your proposition to the consumer and get the job, certainly land the job. So we wanted to show you that. Oh, thank you. Of course, since Dietra is a waterproof membrane, it's a meter wide, and if we ran a meter across this way, and we treated this first seam between our tray and our Dietra, we now have waterproofed out a meter away from the wet area. So when you take a curb out, this is something you should be taking into consideration. The curb is out, and now what was traditionally the dry area outside the shower should be looked at a little bit closer to how it is inside the shower, which is a wet area. We kind of blurred that boundary now, haven't we? So it's a good idea to use a waterproof membrane to protect your floor outside your shower. In our case here in the U.S. and North America, it's a lot of wood. We construct a lot of our buildings with wood, plywood and OSB and so forth, if you can afford it. But anyway, you put that in place here, and now we've got waterproofing out here. And if we treat the other seams across our bathroom floor and actually do what Paige and Robin have done here with the Curdy band, doing a floor-to-wall connection, you could turn the entire bathroom floor essentially into one big shower pan. So you can completely control that and offer that to the consumer. You know, so many times you hear from the consumer, oh, this is the bathroom where we bathe all the kids every night. Half the water ends up on the floor. Perfect example of how you can come along as the installer and go, you know what, the material I employ is waterproof in itself. If I simply treat the seams, little additional cost and time, I can protect that floor from ever getting wet. So another nice value add for you to offer. Okay, so you can see that's our first configuration, but we want to mix it up here, don't we, Paige? What do we got next? Lots of pieces. I'll put this down here. I think we're going to use it again in a couple minutes. Oh, yeah, here, let me. All right, so that's a pretty small tray there. We make the trays, again, in various sizes, dimensions of drain placements and so forth. So what we want to do here now is show which way you're going to put the drain.
Go this way. You want to go to the wall?
You tell me. You do it, and I'll talk about it.
We're going this way.
I don't actually do the work ever, folks. I just talk about it. I let other people do the work. It's a great job if you can get it, so I do highly recommend it. So how about right now a huge design element is to take large format tile on the floors. We all understand that, right? Remember when a 12 by 12 was a big tile? Any of you have been in the industry long enough to remember that? I remember when it was 8 by 8 was a big tile. But nonetheless, large format tiles are all of the design element. The consumer doesn't necessarily want to switch over from that large format as they come into the shower area. That's really what really gained the popularity of the line drains. So the Curdy line drain came out quite a few years ago. So now what we have is one flat plane sloping back towards the drain, so there's no limitations on the size of tile that you can put on your tray. Right? No design limitations, whatever you want. Designs are endless. So we do have the trays. This one is a side placement tray, so it starts thick here and works its way down to the slope here. We put in the channel support, channel body support. It goes in place here to support the channel. And then we actually put the drain body in. This is a no-hub connector, stainless steel. You can see the hub's already on there. It has the Curdy already affixed to the flange, so we have the waterproofing ready to lay out onto the tray and up the wall in this case. And that would go right in place here. This folds up there, this folds out there, and now we have a continuous waterproofing again, and you've got your drain at the back. We can put the curb over here in this case, and you can see how that's all going to work out. Anything else you want to say about this? Did I miss anything? Help me out. I'm getting old. You guys have to remind me. What did we have for lunch? I can't remember. It was an hour and a half ago. Anyway. All right. Yeah, you want to do front placement? Okay, let's do that. Now, you can see this.
It's falling apart. Somebody broke our stuff.
Somebody broke our stuff. It was probably the last guys that were up here. Where are they? Oh, they're right here. Okay.
Guess what?
Would they do that? They're good. They're good fellows. They wouldn't do that to us. Not on purpose. Maybe they're just clumsy. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. All right. So, what we showed before was that we wanted to have a flush entrance in from our floor. So I described how we would remove the 3/4 inch plywood or OSB to recess the floor 3/4 of an inch. We can do the same thing, and what we'll do, this might blow some of your minds, but we're going to put the drain at the front. Now, why would we do that? Well, that would be the reason, because now the high point is here, the slope comes down to here, so where's the lowest point in the whole bathroom? It's right here. So the rest of the bathroom floor doesn't have to be raised to get elevation, so you have a slope down to the drain. So that's why this has become popular. You put the drain at the front, and now it's intercepting the water as it wants to flow out onto the floor. So we make these drains in various sizes, from 20 inches up to 72 inches at about 4-inch increments. And you might wonder why so many different sizes. You want to get the one that's closest end to end as possible, so you give the water the smallest amount of path to maybe try to get around the drain, right? Detour around the interception. So that's why we make all these sizes. Again, it would be the same thing. We could do this, right, Robin? Put this in place. And when we fold this out, like we showed you at the back section, that folds out and ties in the waterproofing here, ties in the waterproofing here, and now we still have our curbless comes right into the shower. So keep that in mind, that that's a great option. This is very popular in hospitality, like the hotels you're staying at, because they don't have to raise the floor in order to put drains in. The drain can go right on the floor. They put Detra on the floor, they put the drain right onto the slab, and just put the slope back into the shower, and they're done. So very popular with those. All right, so we have various types of, do you want to fold this out and show them that while it's at the front? Let's do that. When you get a hold of that, I can never peel this stuff off.
So where you need fingernails?
Look, I got it before you. Man. Okay, so there's the drain body, all stainless steel drain body, and we have various drains that you can put in here. That one is probably the most popular one that we have. Out of all the finishes, all the colors we make, it's the tileable one. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to put a tile or a strip of tile or whatever you're putting on the floor on top of this, on that fleece. That's what's going to grab a hold of it. It's going to drop into this channel body, holds it in place, and then you're going to tile up on both sides of it. And you'll do it with these jigs that come in here. They go in place, and then you tile up to both sides of it. You have the strip on the top already. So where does the water go? Through the gap on both sides of that piece of tile. So it's virtually invisible. No one really sees a drain. You haven't had to select a finish or color or something to go with the hardware and so forth. That's what you're going to get there. So that is I'd say it outsells the other ones altogether. And again, it's a little cheaper, believe it or not, because you don't have to have the frame, where the other ones come with a frame. So keep that in mind. So that's a nice way to treat that. You can see how popular that is. Now, maybe back placement isn't possible. Drains in already. You're going to go in and retrofit. Look at you being so neat. You are kind of, how's that OCD doing these days? OCD's okay? You keeping it?
For me.
For you? It's all right?
I've been accused of that. I think
So your analyst is saying you're okay? You can...
Well, it depends on the week.
Yeah, we took Robin out to dinner last night. We celebrated the fact that he can be around sharp objects again. It's been quite a while since he's been able to handle those, so we're very happy about that too. I'm relieved because he carries sharp objects. Anyway, okay, so maybe the drain's in the middle. Maybe the drain's already in. You're going to retrofit. You want to put in a line drain. The consumer wants that type of look, or they just want that design. So we can actually put in the intermediate drain. Oh, we didn't bring that tray, did we?
No,
Intermediate? Okay. So it would be the same thing that we just showed you. Instead of sloping to the front, sloping to the back like this, we do make the trays that have a slope from both sides to the center. That's actually going to lower the overall thickness a bit because, of course, it only has to travel a shorter distance to maintain its height to get the slope. So that would be thinner at the edge. And then you would actually put the drain here. You could put it this way. You could turn it this way. Whatever you want. It's up to your design element. And again, from 20 to 72 inches in 4-inch increments, you can have lots of options as far as what you put that in. And you can come by our booth and you can see the different drain finishes we have and the different styles of grates. There's a lot to choose from there. The matte black is very popular these days, so we do have the new matte black finishes to complement all of the hardware, and we have various finishes that can complement just about any hardware that you would have there. So that's what we want to talk about with the showers, just give you a little preview of where we are. So this is sort of like the current situation now. This is where we are with putting these type of assemblies in. Very popular, and it really shouldn't take a whole lot of extra time or a lot of extra resources or a lot of extra money to actually go into these type of assemblies. So keep that in mind. One other thing we did want to underscore here is over here to the left, we do have, if you have a drain already in, the plumbing's in. Maybe you don't want to be a plumber, even if it's wood, but if it's concrete and the drain is in, you don't want to have to go and become a plumber and jackhammer out concrete to get to the plumbing assembly. So we kind of mimic that up right here. You can see Robin's got that drain flange that's in the floor. It was an old 2-stage clamping drain like we all have seen for years. And we leave the bottom clamping ring in. We do not touch the plumbing in the floor, down underneath the floor. We leave that, and then we put that adapter ring that you can see. Can you tilt that up so everybody can see that a little bit, Robin? See? There we go. So you can see that the adapter ring has already been put in place. It has various bolt patterns to match all of the most popular bolt patterns for the drains that are on the market right now. We just put that down with a small bead of our caulking that goes around on the flange. It bolts down finger tighten and a quarter tune. You don't really have to clamp that down too much. And then once we get to that point, we do have another drain for that actually is custom made. Look at the tailpiece on that. That tailpiece fits into this neoprene fitting. It's a press fit down in, and now you're back to an integrated bonding flange, a Curdy drain system, without having to tear out any plumbing. So very popular. The only thing that I would caution you about on this is when we put that adapter ring on top of that existing piece of plumbing, it does raise the assembly up about, I don't know, half inch or so. It depends on where your drain has been set by the plumber. So you can see that we're using a couple of pieces of our Curdy board as compensation to build that up so that when we put that in place and we take our drain and press it down, that it'll seat itself all the way down into that recess of the flange, then we're ready to do the waterproofing. So it's that simple, that easy. Just remember, if the drain's in already and you're going over to a Curdy system, an integrated bonding flange, it's as simple as just saying, well, I'm going to need the drain adapter kit. And that's what you're going to get, allowing you to go into that kind of assembly. So we wanted to show you that. Oh, that's one of our new style drain assemblies. That's pretty nice. If you can show them that, that's a nice grate. So you'll see there's several different designs. All right. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, another thing that the consumer is just loving about ceramic tile resurgence in the bathroom is to heat the floor, right? Consumers will have a heated floor, and once they have a heated floor once, they will never do it without. It's the old adage, what was once a luxury is now a necessity. That certainly comes into play when you're talking about in-floor heat. We have a very simple system to put that in. It's another Ditra family of product, very similar to Ditra. The configuration looks a little different. It's just called Ditra Heat. You can see we have a couple pieces of the Ditra Heat up here. Configuration a little different. It has studs in here because we're going to be able to run the heated cable back and forth throughout the studs to hold it in place. And we spread the thin set with appropriate notch tile and set the tile directly over the top. If you're on a slab on grade or a slab above grade, anytime it's concrete, you want initial heat up to be effective quickly. You don't want the consumer to wait while that slab robs your energy, your heat down into that slab. So we do make this one called Ditra Heat Duo. So what you're looking at on the back is both a sound attenuation mat and a thermal break. That's what we call a duo. It has two roles to play. So thermal break and sound control. So that's what you're looking at on the back. So over concrete, this is going to increase initial heat up by 70% quicker than if you just use that one. So keep that one in mind. Also, we have the cable systems in various lengths, 120 volt, 240 volt, different ways to put those in. We don't really need to put that in, but we do have the cable. This is a small kit here. Thermostats, we have your standard manual thermostat. We have the automatic thermostat. We have a power controller. If you have a very large floor, but you want to control the entire floor from one thermostat for that, but it's actually larger than your amperage draw from a single circuit, you can still run those off of one thermostat. You will use a power module that actually talks back to your main thermostat, and then you can hook them all together. 15? 16 now. 16 different systems can all be run by one thermostat, so you're virtually controlling huge floor on one thermostat if you'd like. So we do have the Wi-Fi, so if you want to turn it on and off from your phone as you're driving home or something like that, you can certainly do that too. So we can talk about all that stuff, folks, pretty short, but that's all we really wanted to share with you here. We'll get off the stage and let the next folks get back on, and I think maybe we're back on schedule. Pretty close? All right. Thanks very much for your attention. Our booth is just right over here past the Mapei booth. Come by and see us. We're going to start a demo over there in about 15 minutes. If you all want to get up and what? No, I'm just kidding. But we could come and see us sometime. We'll be doing a demo today. We'll be doing 2 demos tomorrow, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And we'll actually be putting this all together with thin-set, showing you the process start to finish. So come see us over there if you have a chance. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.